So how are you, storyteller?
Overall, not bad at all. It's interesting. Today is, of course, Wednesday, so it's always a high point. Wrangling and herding cats aside, I'm very thankful that you guys are all here. When we last left our coterie, they were in several states of haunted. They were in several states of dealing with the emotional. There were several plans and pokers in the fire, but at the end of the day, everyone was predominantly on their own. So, as the night is trailing along as it always does, they were headed back to the Coterie Haven, and we're arriving there with ideas and plans afoot. So the question is, what would you guys like to do? We're stalling for give extra time to either respond to the missive or for us to be just a little bit past our hard start to get down to brass tacks, but just as a way to refresh and bring us up to date before diving right in.
Did my little spy come back with anything useful?
She will over the course of play.
Okay, fair enough.
And, useful, of course, being relative.
Right. Retainers being what they are and all.
Yes. So any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off? Well, it is a small world after all.
It is.
One small bit of old business, as I'm sure you guys have noticed there in the open areas of our discussion. Hail the Zeit is once more curious about potentially returning. He would not be returning with the same character he played previously, but he is actually being a little bit more active about asking things via DM about where we are and what he's listening to as he attempts to catch up to the episodes, to know where the state of the city and the state of the coterie is. In your own time, when you guys get around to it, or if you don't, feel free to give me your feelings or any reservations you might have. And in a similar state of open, honest, communicative expression, I'd really earnestly like to thank you guys for being here. This is, despite all the moments that we shared of drama and trauma with the characters, this is really a foundational aspect to my play, and it means a great deal that you guys are here. If there aren't any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off, we can dive right in if you're ready.
I am always ready for some mayhem.
Time for zombies.
What?
She's done it.
Actual zombies or spiritual zombies?
Both.
Yes.
All right, sounds like a plan. Well, that being the case, I'd like to say that this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 13, Episode 4, Snow's Fear of Freezing. When we last left our coterie members, they were dealing with their most interesting and personal moments while they sorted and sussed things out in the name of obtaining what material they could and taking what moments to themselves that they might. A clearing of the air, a small bit of a breather with all of the pressures and various activities directed at them. They having recently learned that even the incidental, non-malicious actions of a kindred could have an untold number of effects across the city. One singular kindred had involved themselves in so many lives, through so many attempts to maintain their immortality, that the effects piled up exponentially to the point where there was no way to go save their own failure. And in the doing, they left pain, terror, and all of those lovely scars on the lives and unlives of more than one could possibly ever account for, including the Coterie themselves. Their careless actions and their attempt to maintain their immortality were inciting, incidental, and causative actions in the lives of the Coterie, their loved ones, and several steps removed from them, all cascading. So with everyone returning to the Coterie after their moments, after their time, after their feedings, with Miriam bringing a guest for a sleepover in tow, with Sophia and Silvio, I did say Arsenio, forgive me, arriving in the timely fashion, much the same time as Lucio. Where does that leave everyone? What are the plans? What is the agenda? To what ends are the Coterie making, acting on, or attempting to plan?
I guess I can go first. I don't
Go
know.
ahead.
Hestia is still thinking about the fact that she just told Donnell that he had to wait for her to go visit with the dad, but she's starting to second guess that and wondering how feasible would it be for her to slip away at least for a little while and do that with him maybe the next night, but at the same time thinking about what's going on with Lucio's family and how Don Wojcik just kidnapped almost everybody he knows, quote unquote, and is using them as leverage. That's also in the back of her head of not wanting to unintentionally put somebody she used to like absolutely love and then the child of that person in danger by, oh, she cares about them, let's use them as leverage. Yeah, so that's in her head. Then there is the whole, do we kill Vivi or do we just pretend we kill Vivi and tell them to leave town thing? Because either way, they have the council and Don Wojcik wanting her head, and then, but she's also causing the people that they don't like trouble. So it's what do we do?
That is a lot of a lot.
That is.
And it's all circulating around people whose lives you've all touched. Family members, like family members, cherished individuals that remind you of who you used to be. Shared moments decades ago, still having a weight and making that person and those persons valuable to you. Intelligence-wise, Hestia is a veritable genius. The emotional intelligence maybe not quite so high, but still high enough to register. Through your connections, you are able to be hurt in ways that you have yet to fully grasp and understand. Just the idea of a threat to someone and something you care about is enough to make you want to distance yourself. And yet, over the last few weeks, on a multiplicity of occasions, through their investigation and chase of Nash and Redwood and the effects that Nash has had on their lives, there's a certain, just there on the tip of her mental tongue, something that they experienced, something that you were witness to, something that for all intents and purposes should not matter, but it's sticking in your craw through your connections, through your effects on people's lives, and it's sitting right there, unfinished, unformed, but something that you can all but taste.
Would it be a good time for a premonition or something along those lines?
Oh, okay. If you would like to try.
So aspects and what?
Oh, for your premonition roll, I actually do have that not far from my visible spectrum. Give me one quick second because it's right there. Excuse me. There we go. It would be resolve plus aspects. And you do need a catalyst, a spark of pain or a spark of emotion to summon it forth. Blood is always the easiest path forward.
Okay, so basically Hestia is sinking so hard that she's got her lip trapped between her teeth and all but sinks Fang into her own lip, and it's the taste of her own blood that starts this premonition.
Alright. Excellent. Would you so kind of go ahead and give me a rouse roll and give me your full roll? And as you look on, biting your lip, tasting the sweet, almost melon-like hint of your vitae, the idea that you've all, through fate, arrived at the same time is interesting. Almost as if there was some invisible hand calling you all home, a siren's call, something that you answer to. And as the blood coats your tongue, slides down your gullet, the world begins to spin. It's wobbling and wavering, but spinning around you almost non-stop. The details of the world blurring into a prism of colors and shapes. And above it all, above the spinning vertigo-like feeling that begins to crawl all over you, it's, you hear, "Don't worry, Em, I got it." And you hear, "Em, you don't have to do it by yourself, I got it." And you hear, "And this is the way that it's going to go. I am as good as dead, but you have your mother to worry about. You have your missing sister to worry about. You have life ahead of you. And it is a short one in comparison. But these monsters will stop at nothing. They will do everything they can to ruin everything you love. And this," and you look at a grainy picture being held in front of your face. It's hard to see without your glasses. And your recent visit to the hospital is making this a very tense moment because you're trying not to get excited, but you see what you see, and you're not sure exactly what you're seeing. But something in your gut tells you that you are witnessing something that, and then you're in a hospital room. And it's been years. You pretend to be asleep. And you hear a voice that you know stirs memories of your childhood. But everything is still blurry because you don't have your glasses. One more time, you don't have your fucking glasses. And then, because you're so stressed out over your glasses, your heart starts to go. You start to pump. You hear beeps and dots, and it's a mess. And then you're at home, your comfort surroundings, and you're looking down on your mother as she sleeps. Again, it's a little blurry. No details you can make out, but you know that this is your mother. Even if she doesn't know that you are you, you know this is your mother. You know this is someone that you care about, and the realities of everything that is happening to her. She's losing herself. She's losing you. She's losing. And then that old aphorism. You die 2 times in this life. First, when your body expires, and when the last person who remembers and loves you says your name for the last time. You heard it on some trailer or some movie or something for some kid, you thought, but there it is, and it's the truth. And you realize that your loved one from that video, and then you realize that out there in the dark are wolves, monsters crawling around the shadows, and there is no way to stop them. There's no way to have them not ruin someone else's life. That is, except for the thumb drive. What thumb drive? And you go looking for the thumb drive. You remember where you put it. You didn't want to, because you know, and yet there has to be. And then you hear a phone call. You snap awake from the dark. The world's still blurry. And you hear that voice. You already know that. And you're sure you're saying something, but you can't hear what you're saying. Perhaps I need to talk to you. I'll see you tomorrow night. And you're not sure how you know, because you didn't remember saying anything. You didn't remember agreeing or saying anything. But you know that there is a bar in 3 hours from where you are right now, where something momentous will happen because you made it happen. And you have an address filtering and flitting through your mind. You know where in the city it is. You can imagine the details of the bar. The bull knows the fact that it's a marble top instead of a wood top. You know that there are 42 different draft taps. You know that there's a huge wall in the back that shows what a actual kettle looks like that the beer is brewed in. You have an idea that the servers on tonight, of all nights, are working double shifts because they take 1 day out of every month where the shifts AM and PM switch. But in this case, with the PM shift having all but quit except for the few cooks who remain, that the AM shift is working the entirety of the day. You know, but the manager's name is Chris, and she hates being called Christine. And you know that tonight you'll be wearing your lucky blue blazer. The last thing that, you're not sure who it is or why it's important, but it's important. It's the last thing they saw you in. It's the last thing and then you're back here in front of the shelter, in front of the Coterie. You're home. You are home. The world has stopped spinning round and round, giving you vertigo. The memories stop assailing you, but they're not memories, but they feel very much like that because you felt the emotion and that the viewer you were using or being a party to felt. You're a little surprised. It takes you a second or two that your skin, even pale as it is darker than it was, but there it is. And you have your glasses on. You touch your face and realize that they're still there, but even without your glasses, you can see perfectly. But you didn't have your glasses and you couldn't see clearly, and the world kept spinning and everything was blurry. And while Hester sorts that out, there is no doubt, there's no lack of recognition as Lucio looks toward Hestia, who's making her way toward the haven at the same time that Miriam is getting out of the car, and Sophia's car is pulling up with Silvio stepping out to help But Hesha pauses and stops. It's a split-second thing. 1 second she's moving with all due intent, and then she pauses and she's touching her glasses and she's looking as if she doesn't recognize where she is. Now, humans have a degenerative factor with their minds. Eventually, there will come a point where every living being loses their faculties. Like, they just peter away. Even as sharp as they might be, they're not as sharp as they once would. And you know that Hesh is a little older than you and has lived a little bit longer of a life than you, but that is not normal for an immortal undead thing.
Sia, you good?
She startles, which is weird for her, but startles and looks up at him, eyes blinking owlishly behind her glasses. This sounds weird, but I think I was just in Dizzy's brother's head somehow. I'm having memories that aren't mine, that belong. It sounds like him. His trip to the hospital, and another trip to the hospital when she went to see him, and his mother losing herself. I think she's got Alzheimer's. I never met Dizzy's mom, but I know hearing her talk about some things that was going on, and then I hearing Vivi's voice over the phone.
And what did she say?
I might have to come see you tomorrow. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know whether this is meant to be tonight, or last night, or tomorrow night, but it feels important. And then there's the thumb drive. He had a thumb drive of all the information that Redwood had. I don't know where he got it, or why he had it, but I think he was digging into Redwood just like Redwood was digging into him, and there's a thumb drive somewhere. He might have it. He doesn't quite remember. I don't know. Sorry. When I have visions, they happen really fast.
All right. Lucio right now looks definitely a lot more stern or concerned than he has in a long time. There's clearly a lot weighing on his mind. And he pinches the bridge of his nose while he's thinking about what Hestia said. And then he looks over to Miriam and Sophia. I don't think it's any coincidence that we all showed up at the same time, and then Hestia has this vision.
Coincidences really rarely are.
Sophia, I'll confess my knowledge of the occult is limited. Do you have any insight on what might be going on?
I didn't come here for a family squabble, says Miriam's guest, as he takes off his glasses one more time, slipping them into his inside top pocket.
Oh, it's not quite a family squabble per se. Introduce yourself to my friends, won't you?
names are for friends, and I'm here to end this. I have had enough. I really have, and I thought that you might help me, but I am getting an unsettled feeling that this may not be what I signed on for.
Is we should decide. She will offer her arm to him and escort him inside. Long story.
Okay. Is this something we need to help with, or?
Hestia
Information.
Suddenly having a moment of a little bit of a, not flashback, but because just the way he said, I'm wanting to end this, brings her back to that day or that evening that they were up in the room with the party favors, quote unquote, and she killed the old lady by accident. That same sort of Jesus take the wheel, I'm giving it up fate feeling he's giving off in droves, and it's like, oh no, not again. She looks like tugs Lucio's arm and whispers, remember the old woman?
Yes.
And then head nods towards the friend. I think he's one of those.
And while that conversation is taking place and Miriam crosses the threshold into the shelter, Silvio opens the car door and, moving through him as if he was nothing more than an after image of himself, a young woman settles into the back seat, looking directly at Sophia, her eyes as empty as ever, but something about her demeanor is that impish, puckish, I have bad news and it's gonna make your day bad, without the dance, without the nanny boo boo. It is definitively, I did what you asked, you can't punish me, but ha 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 ha. Even the dead can be churlish, especially when forced into servitude. And as the empty eyes look upon Sophia, what is it that she says? What is it that she does? Does she make the spirit wait longer in the realm that causes them no small amount of pain?
Yeah, she would probably stare at it and study it for a while, knowing that she obviously doesn't want to hear what it's going to say. So if she's going to have to suffer from bad information, perhaps it should suffer for bringing it.
And as the war of silence wages, Silvio stands holding the door, looking from Sophia to the empty space across from her, and simply closes the door, giving a moment. He is aware that certain meetings take place beyond the kin and recognition of those in this world. This is not the first time that Sophia has spoken to things that are not there, or at least shouldn't be, but in fact are.
So out with it then.
I don't have the words. Might I share with you in another way?
Very well.
And the moment that you say very well, the space between you and her is gone. You're looking at yourself, looking at her, looking at this space around you, and you see it in both the real world as it is and how she, from the Deadlands, sees it. A gray, slightly out of focus place where only things that have emotional impact stand out with any vibrancy. The world devoid of color. All the people, their emotions, or what the storefront psychics call their auras, where the energy that they put off, the heat and residual, everything being simply color spectrums that flow across some spectrums of energy that they put off naturally. You're able to see it, and the energy being put off by you looking at you is gray. A gray field which begins opening up with her having been ordered by you, and you hear what your voice sounds like to those bound to you. It is what many movie directors try to approximate with the voice of God, or with the voice of the master mage, or with the voice that is without question the cruelest thing you can hear, and yet undeniable in its strength, forcing you to do whatever is requested. It is like your leash being pulled, the yoke growing in weight until even if you would like to not, you have no choice but to acquiesce, to obey. And like a matter of thought, the ground disappears beneath your feet as you appear in the doorway of a ramshackle, burned out husk of a building. Instead of moving into the darkness that would obstruct a normal person's view, you sink into the earth. You pass all of the cast off things, all of the memories, and all of the garbage and rubbish that people toss out year after year after year, and you realize that unlike other places, Chicago is a city that, instead of reinventing itself whole cloth, just simply builds on top of its old bones. It bulldozes its cemeteries. It uses the foundations of the foundations of the foundations of homes, years, decades, centuries older. And she steps through into a space that has been retrofitted. There's copper all around. There is an electronic field protecting the information therein. It is such a strong field that it takes a considerable effort to push through it. And when you do, the world explodes in pain. You watch a fairly athletically shaped Latina closing one computer, opening another, click-clacking away, and then pausing and looking around, listening. Then she opens another computer which shows all of the cameras that clearly can't be on this property, but they are viewing the shelter. You know, while the ghost that you are inhabiting, who has witnessed all of this, does not, that those are in fact the shelter's cameras. They are monitoring and watching, and in the few that actually have sound, they are listening. And then they move to another, which shows this place, the hubble around it, the fact that it looks derelict, abandoned, and has perfect camouflage. From its doorway, you can look and see the shelter. You see the parking garage behind it, the supposedly abandoned hospital that acts as buffer for the world, and you see the shelter itself. But back to the young woman who's click-clacking away. You see her move to another laptop, opening it, and then you see churches, hundreds of small images of churches from various places. You're not sure exactly where, but she clicks through them, monitoring things, and then you see a palatial estate, a mech mansion built on top of itself until it's actually a full-fledged mansion, though a little gaudy. But then you watch as an older woman is arguing with a slightly older man who looks like Lucio. Words are said, and then they leave. And then there's a phone call. And you can only hear this side of it, but it is, so now you know. Okay, I'll meet you there. Yes, it's the Pancake House. It is really a very nice bar. Oh, you know it? Excellent. 11 o'clock? Excellent, I'll be there. And then she does the most ridiculous thing that you witnessed, being an 18th century minded person. She divests herself of all her clothing and actually showers. Why would you do that? That's inviting cold in. You don't want to wet your whole body at once. It's just ridiculous. And those 18th century thoughts are bombarding you as you watch the Latina leave. While this is a safe place for them, or a safe space for them, it is clear that they do not rest here. They do not sleep here. This is like going to the office for them, and you trail them across the city, and you trail them into a little apartment on the Loyola campus. The windows are painted over and taped over with newspaper and thin boarded, and they make themselves at home. They look at a picture of some blonde, and then they die for the day. And you're back to yourself. There was more, but it only involved them leaving and doing what you at best can decide is a standard circuit of their perimeter, the defenses that they have. In that quick snippet of what they saw, there is no doubt in your mind that the security and defensive deterrence they have in place would make Silvio envious. And you're back in your limo.
Very interesting. I will open my own door.
As you begin pulling the latch, Silvio opens it for you as you step out.
Who do we know that looks like Lucio? And where is their pancake house?
Well, apparently everyone in my goddamn family looks like me, so there's that. As for the pancake house, I mean, fuck if I know. There's tons of them in Chicago.
An apartment on Loyola?
Loyola was Dizzy's place.
I believe that is where Vivi is staying. She comes here to do business.
And what does that have to do with the other questions you asked?
She was meeting with someone who looked like you at the pancake house.
Tonight?
Was this something I saw on the vision, or something they were setting up in the vision?
That was something they were setting up.
Okay, that's
And
what I
the
thought.
person that looked like Lucio, because there's some distortion with viewing through the ghost eyes. You secretly know it's actually probably Wojcik and his wife. There is some dilemma and tension there that is exploitable. While the ghost didn't have the language or the mental faculties to explain as such, you have a sinking suspicion that that is exactly what is taking place. There is a rift growing in the Castiglione household. Some plan pushed too far.
So is she met with them?
No, she's watching them.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense to me. That she's watching them. Yeah, okay, so yes, she meet tonight at the pancake house, 11 o'clock.
Which is exactly 3 hours from when you all awoke this evening.
And what time is it now?
You have about an hour.
So we have about an hour to find this pancake house. Hess, do you remember anything about a pancake house when you were talking with Dizzy?
Her and Vivi used to go eat at a pancake house all the time. Well, eat is a, you know what I mean, but they used to go to the pancake house together a lot. I guess, I don't know whether it was like a date or something. I never knew whether they were dating or not. I never stopped to ask. It seemed too personal, but yeah, I think I know which pancake house.
What is Hestia streetwise?
Hold on, let me look. I don't have it up right here. I can pull it up quick. Streetwise. At one.
Okay.
She's not very streetwise.
No, she wouldn't know the location immediately off of that description. However, while that is being sussed out and they're thinking, putting their minds together, inside the shelter, the look that he gives you when you walk in is one of someone who at one point has a significant amount of funding and money that they didn't think they would ever lose. It unfortunately is a look that you have seen in many of your clients as they realize the sort of people that they associate with, the sort of people that they've shared bits and pieces of themselves with, the sort of beings they've given their life's blood to. Because as often as it is believed, the vast bulk of kindred are not in fact rich, not in the way that most humans, most living beings would truly ever understand. Most of kindred societies are built around boons and favors owed. And while they themselves may not have access to a private jet, it may not be in their name, but because of favors here and greasing the wheel there and getting this done for this other person, they have almost unlimited access to private jets. They themselves may not be the captains of financial industry, but they will own a company that has done things for someone who's done things for someone who's done things for someone, and they can manipulate things. They can get access to it. And especially amongst themselves, a boon is very much an unlimited amount of potential. Its actual value varies from buying someone a Happy Meal to buying someone a private island. I know I seem like an ass, but I was hoping that it doesn't seem like we'll have any bit of privacy here.
This is an important lesson. You seek to find beauty in pain?
But this is just suffering. There's no lessons here. There's only... I'm sorry. I don't mean to judge.
There's beauty everywhere. Here included, you have people who are suffering, who need help. In various ways. Being like us, you often lose track of the small things, the important things. Should never forget those things. That's how you lose yourself. Come.
He follows along, and it's very much as if you've chastised a particularly precocious child. He's chastened, but there is a strange amount of immediate forgiveness of that chastening. And there's a strange amount of, sure, okay. There's not the angry response that most adults and young teenagers give when being corrected. There's the, okay, what's next?
You will lead him up to outside of the office door and wait for the rest.
And speaking of waiting for the rest, there are, without a shadow of a doubt, in the city itself, let alone in Rogers Park, there is an overabundance and a reliance on alcohol to cure what ails you. Places where you can purchase it, places where you can, know someone who knows someone. Alcohol is a remedy. You use alcohol on the outside for when you have aches and bruises, and use alcohol on the inside for when you have mental, emotional aches and bruises. And Chicago is a city that enjoys treating its aches and bruises. This is pertinent because one of the many things that it has, along with this abundance, is a plethora of names of places and institutions dedicated to imbibing spirits and what everyone knows is, does anything stand out about the vision and the shared experience and the sheer knowledge of the city? Does anyone have Streetwise 2 or better?
Lucio does.
Would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus Streetwise for me, please? It is almost absolutely laughable. It is hilarious. It is a top 10 song by Alanis Morissette that doesn't mean what the definition of the word means. Pancake house, bar. And if you're not mistaken, if it's accurate, Dizzy's brother was of the sort that would very much be a part of the G&T crowd for after work, so it would be well within his purview as well. And the absolute flash of lightning, the connecting fabric of it all, is that the Pancake House is a nickname for the House of Mama Walde. Because they do a pancake breakfast at the closing of every night of dancing and drinking and, well, occasionally drugging. There's food. It is also behind and connected with a very nice cocktail bar. One of the few that caters to all stripes, and everyone slightly dresses up their business casual as a standard. But for the kindred, for those who have the rest of immortality ahead of them, it is simply called the House of Mama Walde, not the Pancake Shop. It is literally a decent walk, but a walk nonetheless, from the shelter to Clark and Devon. It takes up the almost entire southeastern portion of that plot of land. The parking is phenomenal. You can literally park from Devon all the way down to the cul-de-sac which cuts through across Clark. It is hilarious.
Oh my god. Lucio, almost face palms when he realizes this and starts chuckling a little. It's not a literal pancake house. It's the nickname for Mama Walde's house. For House Mama Walde. They have they do serve pancake breakfasts there, hence the nickname. But if that's the place that they're meeting... Oh, shit. About how far of a drive is it?
6 minutes. You could take Ravenswood straight south until you get to Devon and hang a left going east.
We could get there in 6 minutes by car.
Is there anything you need to do before we go?
Figure out what to say when I meet her.
This is public place, yes?
Yes.
So not likely to be openly violent.
Unlikely, but not zero chance. This is Vivi we're talking about.
Well, in that case, I should probably eat before we go.
Well, I have a car whenever you are ready.
Lucia, did you bring any of your backup, or am I gonna? Because hunting didn't go well for me tonight at all. I went to this bar and it turned into a hipster bar. Depressing, so depressing. They had blueberry beer.
That truly is depressing. And unfortunately, this is all I brought with me. And he pulls out a single small flask of blood. I wasn't expecting to do business tonight.
Well, you're probably gonna need that more than I will, so... I'll figure it out, don't worry.
As you wish.
But she is going to go into her office, and even though we're saying that there isn't any expected violence, she's going to tuck a couple of extra sleeve blades up her sleeves before she leaves.
So you head in and head towards the office and get into the Haven?
No, she keeps him in one of the locked drawers in the desk. That's one of the drawers that not even Donnell has a key to.
Okay. So as you head into the office, you find that Miriam and her guests are waiting patiently at the doorway into this.
Can I help you two with something? Did you want to come and sit in and talk?
Guest here has, I would almost call it a death wish. He reminds me of me.
Yeah, I've met people like him before. Well, come in anyway and I'll explain some stuff, okay? And
Alright.
she lets them walk in front of her and shuts the door behind them really quick. Going for the drawer, and while she's going through the drawer and tucking blade, it's funny, this little 4 foot like nothing person stuffing like blades in their sleeves while having a conversation. I get what she's saying. I don't know if I asked your name or not, sir, but I've met people like you before.
I don't think you either of you have.
There's a bit of a twist.
Trust me, I do. She looks at Miriam. Please don't let this leave the room.
Won't.
There was a party that happened in near Dalton? Give a second. Anyway, a big party. The club got blowed up and caught on fire. But I saved Urzuli's life that night. And it was one of those type of parties. Looking very pointedly at her guest.
So are you a mother or a father?
There's the twist. She will give quite a grin.
I don't have any children of my own.
Oh,
yet.
not that kind of mother.
You don't get it, do you? You're not one of the faith. You don't believe. Even with all the signs around us every day, even you don't believe. And you said she might understand.
Wait, I don't know what that exactly means.
Remember what I told you about my employer?
Yeah.
A devotee.
Because I remember Mama Walding is called Mama Walding for a reason.
Wait, what do you know about Mama Walding?
Haven't seen her in a long time though.
Are you an initiate? Do you oh God! Wait, so okay, I'm at the end of my path, and there's no place in any garden for me. Do you understand? Do you know how hopeless that is? Do you know what it is like to need simply nothing more than the fresh, soft earth? And,
yes.
And you said you would help. This is not helping. This is showing me what I'll never have.
I understand what you're getting at. Hold on. The thing is, we still have to work within the rules of our society. And one of the rules of that society, just like you have rules for religion and devotees and things like that, is that we need permission to do things like what you're asking.
Why would you ask permission? I am the perfect sacrifice for our mother, for our true mother, our dark mother, and gladly will sacrifice myself. But you, just like the demon himself, just like the son of Adam, you are attempting to pull me from my path. You brought me here to dissuade me from the course of action in front of me, didn't you?
I want you to have all of your choices laid out in front of you.
The choice is simple. Either plant me in the good black earth, or I will sacrifice myself and everything that I know will bear fruit.
Everything you know, wait, hold on, about what?
I'm a sacrifice. From me grows more. And for that to happen,
So you're blackmailing us.
No, I'm not. If you understood everything about me and everything about us, the true believers knows that any steps that we can take to dispel the false myth of that demon, Adam's son, is never too far. And being set adrift and set off by myself, having everything that I believe in being driven from around me due to that demon Adam's son's progeny, his children, his cult of personality, is more than I can bear. I've lost everything. I've devoted everything. I've gained all the pain that I can possibly bear. And the only thing left for me is this. And if you won't help, I understand. I attempted
I'm not saying to help you.
I attempted to take an easy way. I shouldn't have even bothered. I thank you for your time, and I'll find my own way from here. And he turns towards the door.
She tries to catch his gaze and compel him to sit.
Okay. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus dominate?
Now, it automatically works on somebody unsuspecting, but it's just how well it works, I guess the roll is.
I don't think I want to stay. The mother, I've forsaken it. I've forsaken the mother. I've tried to take the easy way. I don't think I need to take the easy way. You've given me the strength that I need. But thank you for the offer to sit. You ladies have a evening. And he steps across the threshold.
Blink and grab. He is getting dragged back into the office.
And Miriam, watching this, is there anything you're attempting to do? Is there anything you're saying? Is there anything that you're interacting with?
She's just going to lean forward and shake her head. The easy way isn't always the easy way.
And as you two go tumbling back into the room, the door closing simply because of the weight and motion, he begins to scream, of course, because that's quite a surprise. It takes a second for his body to catch up, well, his mind to catch up to his body, moving in the opposite direction of his path, in the opposite direction of which he's traveling. And as you all fall back into the office, outside with Lucio and Sophia.
It sounds as if I may need what you call it, the sissy gun, but I just do not want to.
Suit yourself. I could always try and get you one of these, as Lucio is checking to make sure his magnum is fully loaded.
Do not know if I could even lift that, let alone point it at someone.
It's easy. I could show you how sometime if you want.
It's quite all right. Have person for that.
I'm sure you have a lot of people for a lot of things, but
It's helpful to know a guy.
you know, you've been helping us out a lot lately, and I understand you are definitely using us, but I just want to know, what is your game here? What is your plan when all this is
You wound me. You wound me. What game would I be playing? We have common enemy. Common annoyance. The enemy of my enemy and all that.
So it's simply a matter of convenience.
Would you like me to tell you something more?
I'd like you to be honest with me.
It's a matter of convenience.
So that's
You have
how-
a problem, I have a problem, and sometimes it turns out to be the same problem.
All right, keep being mysterious if that's what you want.
I don't know it's so much mysterious as you asked for honesty, and I'm being honest. He has, you have a thing that he wants, and I want him to not have it. Therefore, I'm here helping you to make sure he does not get it.
Do you want him gone as well?
Do you want the official answer?
I want your answer.
Of course I want him gone. While he has done horrible things to you, he has done horrible things to not me so much, but people around me.
For a time, I was content with just letting this go on. Letting him try and goad us, and we just ignore him while we deal with more pressing matters, but he's gone too far.
You realize you were losing, right? As he continued to manipulate things through your blood, through your child.
In hindsight, I do realize
You realize, had I not intervened, that you would have lost this place when the Vivi situation came to be.
I do recognize that, yes.
So where do we go from here? We solve the Vivi problem, and then what?
Then we solve the Don problem. You want him gone, I want him gone.
I do, but nothing is so easy. I fear perhaps he's losing his grip. There's perhaps a rift in his household that can be exploited.
How so?
I don't know what it is yet. I would like to think that it was the mama did not know about the baby. But I could be wrong.
I told that fucker to call me and he never did. He doesn't even know.
Your kind has a problem with phones, right?
Yes.
Could be that, could be more.
There are ways around that, I've learned.
You have learned, but has he?
Doubtful.
She will reach over and pat Lucio gently on his cheek and say, "See, he needs Papa."
Don't you ever call me that again.
Well, struck a nerve. Interesting. Did not mean anything by it, but we'll file that away. Do you want to tell me, or
Tell you what?
why that upset you so much? I honestly meant nothing by it.
It upsets me because it was an accident.
We all make accidents.
There's a lot of kids out there. They owe their existence to accidents. Why should this be any different?
He has a point.
It's different because this could get me killed.
It will not get you killed.
Well, no more than has already gotten you killed, considering, from what I hear, from what I understand, and excuse me if I'm wrong, but your association with the Castigliones by blood and by you staying in their business caused you to die already once, yeah? Based on what they just said. And your continued association, antagonism with them, made you a focus for them. So you're good as dead anyway. So it's better to know what you're dealing with, honestly, and take the easy way out. Beat them to the punch. And that's why Sophia is here. So that you have an easy way to keep from ending up dead permanently. It'd be nice to know who your friends are.
As he said, and I've already considered your situation. Did you know that your port of Tartadizzi was a Sabbat infiltrator who was also a La Sombra? Who embraced Vivi and then also put a spy into our own camp, my own clan, right under Don Wosik's nose? Were you aware of all that, Lucio?
Are you accusing me of being Sabbat?
No, I'm telling you how we cover up and make sure that you are not damaged for either one of your accidents.
You realize I've already been accused of being Sabbat many times by one who admittedly is now dead.
I don't believe you to be Sabbat. However, the spin is that Dizzy was a Sabbat infiltrator. She herself was a La Sombra, and she made these two errant children who should not exist. Which gets you off the hook, no?
I don't know how I feel about besmirching her memory like that.
I asked before if it took throwing her under the bus to save your all lives. Everyone seemed fine with that then. I have not put anything into motion, has not been necessary. However, it is a spin you could use so that no fingers are pointed at you. And then will not, as you say, get you killed.
Kind of stuff never sit right with me, even if I have to do it to survive.
You're very young, your stomach will strengthen and become second nature.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh,
Speaking of second nature,
things to be afraid of.
speaking of second nature and fear, there is a uneasy, stomach lurching moment when your feet move of their own volition, when you can see the ceiling or the sky above your head and you know that there's ground beneath you, when due to overwhelming force you are not where you believed you should be. And that's the moment that Miriam's guest experiences a weightlessness that is all the scarier because by any definition of the word, he outweighs the one person that could have been responsible. And lo, all the same, he is now on his back looking at the ceiling in the office. He scrambles back as best as he can to try to sit upright to figure out what's going on.
I think you were invited to sit. You shouldn't be rude to your hostess.
I don't know what's going on. I'm hopeful, but we know that hope, just like pride goes before a fall. Are you going to
literally?
Cassia gets a smile on her face that very few people have ever seen before. And she doesn't get that smile on her face very often. It's not a pleasant smile. I think so far the only one recently who's ever seen it is maybe Baby Wilsick. So, yeah, that smile falls across her face. I tried to fight with it. I'm hungry, and you're annoying. And you want to die. So I'm all about consent. Seeing as how you want to die that bad. I can make it happen, but you have to explain to me what it is you meant so that it does not come back to bite me in the ass later.
You're going to go through with him? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I need a sample. I need a sample. I know how these things work. You make promises, you make illusions, you never follow through. Those of you not part of the church, not part of the garden, those of you who don't understand, will offer anything, will say anything. I need a sample.
What's closer, his throat or his wrist?
Well, considering there are two of you, both, either, the choice is 100% yours. There is nothing in him, on him, that might prohibit anything that you choose to take from him.
She's gonna stick his wrist in her mouth and bite into him.
Escapes as your fangs break the skin. It's the tribulation and pleasure that comes from the idea, not the thing. With his wrist in your mouth, do you begin to divest him of his blood? Do you actually take a drink?
No, she's just giving him the pain and like the I don't know, you know, because you're a bartender, or used to be a bartender, the whole water in the beer bottle or spit it in the beer bottle thing.
Yeah. Be so kind. Yeah, there we go. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation and persuasion, or your manipulation and performance?
And I have a specialty on vessels for persuasion.
Yeah, that's finding vessels, and you have a willing vessel in front of you. You're fooling that vessel to take blood.
Got it.
There's a moment that it's heartbreaking for anyone who watches sports or who has partaken in sports. Your team is down a field goal. They're down one score. Maybe not even a full score. Maybe all it would take would be a kick. But they're down just enough to lose, because at the end of the day, there are only two columns: win or loss, not keeping it close, not getting an almost win. There's not such a column as that. So, short down, close. But unfortunately, close doesn't win the day. And your team has the opportunity to make it across the goal line, to get the extra point, to win. And again, doesn't have to be a huge margin, just the fact that they do. The seconds on the clock are ticking down. You have your hopes up because they're close, they're skilled, the potential is there. And they fall just short. The basket doesn't drop. It rings the basket and falls to the side, or they are brought down in bounds just before they cross. What should have been a home run is a foul ball. The clock runs out before they cross the line, before they get just far enough. And in this case, the performance is spot on as she rolls her eyes as if she's taking in the full pleasure of the blood coursing down her neck. She's applying a little tongue pressure to simulate the feeling of the blood flowing, and from a distance, and from outside of herself. It is a very much convincing moment. But first, one eye opens, then the second. Small frown furrows his brow, and he looks down, and while the blood is flowing, as it should, there's a facet missing. There's a small portion missing. And while this is glorious, it's just short. And the experience shows his experience with being a donor, being fed upon, being taken over by the full, unadulterated kiss is missing. It's close. It's a good copy. But it's just a copy. He asked for a root beer, not a Sprite with a little Coke mixed in. Close. It's close. And his experience shows because he doesn't immediately yank away. He doesn't immediately lock his muscles or begin to fight or struggle. He holds very still and knows that if it's torn out, that there's damage that he may not be able to deal with, and all manner of things that only those who have given and often enough to be victim of the kiss often enough could ever possibly understand. And he waits. From across the room, Miriam, before sitting at the desk, watches that face, watches the interaction, and the scent of blood is, it is very much a come and get it for every kindred. Hesha's holding her poise and giving a good feeding pantomime. But the truth of the matter is, Miriam is hungrier than Hesha is. And while not ravenous enough, it is definitely one of those things. You're hungry, and you know you have to wait to get home to eat, but on the bus ride home, the person who's sitting right in front of you is opening a pizza box. Not taking a bite. They just opened it, pulled a slice free, left it sitting in the box, and no, it's getting cold. And you can smell the ooey gooey Ford cheese, the Parmesan crusted crust. You know that it's a stuffed crust pizza. You know that those pepperonis are fresh. There's not too much oil, so it's not slick and slimy. It is perfect, and it's being allowed to cool. Not just to cool anywhere, but to cool on a bus or a subway, or worse, just sitting on a table, the lid open. Anyone and their mother can walk by, and they do in droves. And you watch something that could be a satiation of your own hunger pains go to absolute waste.
He kind of sighs in frustration. So sad. But as delicious and as frustrating this is, Hestia has a point, and she is going to let her continue to make it.
So how long do you pantomime feeding, Hestia?
I think once she realizes she's not falling for it, it's gonna be okay, you caught me, but she's not gonna pull away. It's gonna be okay, fine, I was trying to be nice about this. And then the trick she was using to not actually feed, she stops and just starts gulping.
and doubtful and hesitant and pensive and fraught with all manner of mental hurdles that he is jumping through. He stops fighting it. He turns into the skid. He indulges in that most pleasurable of moment when the fullness, when the everything of it happens, when he can feel less of himself. Because one of the many factors of the kiss is that it is not simply just the divestment of blood, but you, much like the amaranth, much like what the older kindreds say about drinking the heart's blood, you are drinking a portion of that person's soul into yourself. There's often been bandied about aphorisms and catchphrases and chestnuts and all sorts of things that says that in the blood is the life. And there's been said in many languages and in many different ways, but that is the absolute truth, because it's not just the exsanguination of all the blood in the body that causes or can cause that death of that mortal. There's less of them to go around. There's less of them to animate the meat suit that their skeleton is wearing. There is less of them in them. Would you be so kind as to tell me how much of his existence are you attempting to take? Are you taking just one hunger's worth? Or are you going to bring him right to the very edge of what is safely allowable to divest him of?
I'm gonna bring him close. And I want him to see that death staring down at him, but just out of reach.
So please remove your hunger down to 1. And just as he's getting into it, just as the toe curling satisfaction of slipping away in the most pleasurable way is there, you pull away, your mouth as usual covered in him, your teeth stained with his life's blood, and the scent simply intoxicating in the room. And he is panting, his brow is soaked in sweat, and his eyes, his pupils completely almost non-existent. The pleasure of it all having caused them to literally be pinpricks. He is so done.
No, you said a taste. I have given you far more than that. Where is your side of this?
Do you have a water or maybe an orange juice? Pineapple is better, but most people don't keep pineapple. And I'm gonna need a pen and maybe something to write with.
Oh, darling, you'll be dead in less than a half hour, so what does it matter about juice? But I'll get you a pen and some paper, though.
All right.
So with them being in the office, she hands him a pen and a paper and looks at Miriam and leans in and whispers, "He's right there. And I can make him disappear afterwards if you want the last bit, once he gives us what we want. You're not going to dissuade him from his path. It's either us or somebody else."
True.
And he's finally done writing. And he sits the pad down. and takes the pen and weighs and measures it and looks at it, looks from it to you all, and sits it down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The point is to experience the pain, not to inflict it on anyone else, anyone unwilling, anyone unenlightened. No, this is a pain for you both, but it's what's necessary. It's what I need. It's what I deserve. And so long without it.
And why do you think you deserve this?
Because pain is instructive. Pain is the only way to true enlightenment. Pain, oh, glorious, fascinatingly unending pain. I told you I wanted to be a seed, to be planted in the garden, and I needed to take whatever steps necessary to get there, to not shirk away from the pleasure or the pain or the pain of the pleasure, to achieve it all. And for that, I thank you. I don't think that there's any other way for me. You both. Thank you so very much.
Maybe we don't have long. We're supposed to be going to handle something. So if you're going to do this, let me know. And if not, then I will handle it.
One more question first. What will become of your wife and children?
They're not mine anymore. They're the world's.
Gesture, she's not particularly up to killing people.
And because of his answer to the question, instead of taking his last bit of blood and giving him the death he so desperately wants, Hestia is going to go with speed, strength, and a neck snap, denying him that last little bit for what that answer that he just gave was.
It's over before it started. Before the guilt set in, before the potential outcome was determined. It was over. The matter was already settled. It was a done and completed facet. It was almost quantum, being at once everywhere that it has ever been and ever would be, all at the same time. Do you look at the pad? Do you look at what he wrote down?
Yeah, we're gonna see what he wrote.
I swallowed it 12 hours ago, and it's in my stomach.
Oh, surgery. Fuck.
Well, I was gonna have to dig his innards out anyway before I put him in the oven, but guess. And she takes her spelled blade, or the longer blade, out and opens him up.
Okay. when dead, all the blood in your body falls to the lowest point. This one is one of the many ways that helps forensic examiners realize the time of death, along with other interesting facts about the bugs, the body temperature, and all of that. He has not been dead long enough for all of the body to settle in the lowest point in him, for his skin to stretch and gray out into all of the many colors of rotting, desiccating meat that the human body becomes. Taking the spell blade out, it's not quite as bad as popping a water balloon of paint, but it is a messy bit of splotch. It is a odoriferously intriguing moment as all of the stomach gases are released, as all of the scent from inside the body begins filling the office, as a perfectly good couch is ruined by the life's blood of a Bahari, a member of the cult, a friend of a friend as far as things go, because even with everything that is happening in the city, it has happened, Hestia has to admit that she still considers Azuli a friend. And as what he is emptied all over the couch, and Hestia reaches in, rifles around, and finds the stomach and cuts it open. And true to his word, he in fact did swallow it. Wrapped tightly. Almost sealed in a nice fingertip size plastic cap. Plastic is kind of funny. Even stomach acid doesn't dissolve it quickly enough for it to do anything more than sit there forever. And it's a little micro SD. The mess and grime, the blood and guts that they're sticking to Hestia's fingertips, making it a small bit difficult to quite read what's on it, how much memory it has. But it is clear that steps were taken, and not that you all are detectives or surgeons or the like, but his plan was clear. He assured that either he would die or that he would die. And upon an examination, upon an autopsy, for however he planned to die outside of here, there would have been the discovery of the SD. And as part of any investigation, of course, they'd have to look. And from there, like wildfire, it'd catch. Because while people would doubt the police, while people are a little suspicious that their firemen may in fact be strippers or OnlyFans stars, scientists, medical scientists, they carry a little more weight. So if they said that they witnessed something, it would go a little far. It wouldn't be an internet sensation. It wouldn't be a new dance craze. It wouldn't be something that could be disproven, though people may try. Because the fact would have come from a trained professional about a subject that they were not trained in. So it'd have all the credence in the world. And it's sitting there in your hands.
Such a waste.
While I try to be a kind and non-monstrous person, obviously I'm failing at that, mind you, I'm also a pragmatist and a scientist. He was determined to end himself. She kind of shrugs. I am a hound of the city, and I'm supposed to make sure that there are no masquerade breaches. He posed a threat to the masquerade by threatening a breach, and I ended him. I'll deal with the guilt of it later. But right now, I have to figure out what the fuck to do with this couch that just got ruined. And whether it'll fit through the door to the Haven so I can hide it until I get back. Fuck.
Should we call the guys to come up and help real quick?
Has Arsenio been staying at the shelter with us still, or did he move back in with Stella and
Wasn't he at the
Faye?
hospital when we saw him last?
Yeah, shit, he got kidnapped, sorry. He's gonna text Sophia real quick that, hey, can we borrow Silvio for a minute? I need to move a couch. I'll explain later.
Hey, Miss Green, I saw you come in. Hey, Miss Green.
Is that not Donnell? Is Sebastian?
Yep. Hey, Miss Green.
You can't come in right now, sweetheart.
Oh,
I'm having a meeting.
Oh, okay. I'll wait. You can hear him rifling through papers, clearly on one of the 17,000 clipboards that he has with notes and keeping track of this, that, and the other. Something has either caught his attention or needs immediate address.
Where is the couch in relation to the door?
When you open it to the right. From the doorway, when you open it, you'd be right there on the right, towards that right wall.
Okay. So not easily blocked from view.
Yes. And while you contemplate that, while Team A contemplates dealing with Sebastian, as the issue and matter of being a pop becomes a tripwire, a Rubicon to not cross, or to only cross when you're purposely attempting to rile up the Senate, Sophia's phone goes off and it's a text from Hestia.
I imagine Silvio has control of my phone anyway, so I don't know whether he'd hand it to me or probably just checking himself.
Oh no, he didn't pry into your business. Your business is your business. He removes the phone and holds it up so you can see the screen without necessarily having to touch it and tell him whether he's to do anything or not with it.
Apparently they need you upstairs to help move a couch. I do not know why they are moving furniture at this time. It must be some sort of code.
Moving the couch.
That is what it says, to move a couch.
Okay. Would you like
I'm sure
to
it is.
assist?
I'm sure it is not the couch, but if you would be a dear, yes, please.
He slips the phone away, turns, giving Lucio a quick once-over, like he's verifying something.
Don't worry, when you come back, she'll be just like you left her. I promise.
If I have a new hole in me, he will be very upset.
Sure thing. And he heads off.
Knowing Hestia for how long I've known her, he might actually be moving a couch.
It's a strange time to rearrange rooms. I thought they were just going to get something to eat. Maybe someone fell off their diet?
Wait, didn't they bring someone in there earlier? Oh, no.
For as squeamish as you all are, you seem to leave quite a wake of corpses everywhere you go.
It's not our intention. Circumstances, unfortunately, are what they are.
Of course, accidents happen, but you think that you would, at a certain point, just become accustomed to the accidents happening.
I try to make an effort not to become accustomed to accidents.
That is fair.
While we're here, there's something I want your input on.
I am here to serve.
Vivi,
I don't know her, but what about her?
if I kill her, I save our status in the Camarilla. I save my family from Don. If I let her live, she could help us bring him down. She's already done a lot of damage.
So what is your question?
Should I kill her?
This is not an easy answer. It's complicated by the matter of you've also been tasked to do this by your elders. Were that not the case, were it just a Wolseek matter, I would say no. However, unless you are 110% sure that you can replace her with an imposter so that you may use her later, I would not try to pull the wool over the eyes of your prince. Some of these kindred that you deal with in town are very, very old. They have ways of sniffing out lies, powers that are beyond our understanding and control.
That's what I was afraid you'd say.
Does not mean it cannot be done. There's also a slim chance you could bring her in and plead a case for her. One of you could perhaps accept to undergo the accounting for her. Perhaps they would be lenient. However, from what I understand, they've been very lenient with you in the past, and I'm sure the Primogen are getting very tired of such. Though on that route, if it's your conscience you are worried about, at least it would be not you who killed her.
I think it has to be me. I'm the one who made the mistake.
We all make mistakes, Lucio. What you have to do in this new world, though, is learn how to make your mistakes into advantages. Sometimes that cannot be done. In that case, you learn what you can from the mistake, and therefore turn it into an advantage. What is there to learn from this mistake?
That I'm not ready to be a sire.
I don't think any of us are ever ready to be a sire. It's a lot of responsibility to bring someone into this existence.
Bringing her in brings the risk of them discovering the truth. I don't think we can make that risk.
That is also a thing. They may already know the truth.
I think when I see Vivi, then I'll know for sure what I should do.
Whatever you decide, it is obviously dispatching her is satisfies both your debts in this matter. But she would be a useful ally against the Dawn. Yet another enemy of my enemy.
Well, it's been fun revealing all my deepest, darkest secrets to you. But I have to wonder, is there anything you're willing to share in return?
What would you like to know?
How did you find out about us in the first place?
We know much. Many things we know.
Is that the royal we? Or was there someone else helping you?
There's always someone else helping us.
Well, then I'd like to know who that is.
They are people we do not speak of very often. Very ancient, very powerful. They may have not known about you specifically, but they put me on the right path.
I assume they're of the same clan.
They may be. I will neither confirm nor deny that.
There's another thing.
I'm listening.
I might be making a mountain out of a molehill, but I believe Ignacio said something weird during the Elysium, during the trial. Something about God machines. Do you have any idea what he was talking about?
It's not the thing we talk about. It's a Hakata matter.
So you do know what it is.
I am familiar with the concept. I do not know exactly what it is.
I suppose you wouldn't want to familiarize myself with the concept, would you?
It's a Hakata matter.
Fair enough.
You have to understand, there are things that I am permitted to talk about. There are things that if I were to tell you, then we would not have any more conversations because I would be a bag of dust. So you will forgive me if I am not always forthcoming.
They can't turn you into a bag of dust if they don't find out, you told me.
See, now that's the thing. You think because we're standing here alone that no one is listening. There's always someone listening.
Yeah, I remember someone once told me it's a good idea to assume that there's always at least two Nosferatu nearby when you're speaking. Maybe I should take that advice to heart sometime.
I wish it were Nosferatu. You remember also at the Elysium, and Ignacio said, we know the dirt you do, we see everything. It is true.
Through the spirits?
She just nods. And just as they use the spies, so do others of my clan. How do you think I know where Vivi is planning to be?
So you mean to tell me there's an entire family of vampires out there who can spy on us without any of us ever knowing?
Technically, it's like 10, 11 families, but yes.
Because that makes it so much better.
It gives you a whole new level of paranoia, huh? You should be honored that you are important enough to be watched. You mean that much to him that he must know what you're doing at all times.
Well, if that's the case, Lucio looks up into a random direction and just flips it off. Fuck you, Dad. I hope he saw that.
Well, he would not directly see it, but perhaps the message will be conveyed.
And speaking of being conveyed, being moved, being transmitted, Arsenio, take 35. Silvio is approaching the door, and you can hear Sebastian, even through the door, swallow very hard, because Silvio is not a small man, nor is he a kind-looking man. He has the neck of someone who is meant to tear their way through the world, one massive bite at a time. And even knowing that he's an accepted presence, having a specter of death walk towards you is not the most calm thing to witness. Well, inside the office,
Hestia was having a mild panic attack, but she has since opened the door to the Haven and pretty much dragged the body through. Because the bloody couch is one thing, but a body?
Right.
Yeah.
I will help with what I can.
So here's the image so that we can properly understand what is happening. Hestia has no limit of strength when it comes to it. She is exponentially stronger than she looks, partially because of the dead flesh that she inhabits, and partially because she really is supernaturally strong for her size. So lifting the body is not the hard part. It's the fact that even so freshly dead, the skin slips and slides and is dead weight and is awkward. And for a good portion of it, unfortunately, the few feet between, it's mostly a drag because, well, it's just awkward to carry all of that dead weight when the center of it is split open and bits and pieces are falling out and slipping and sliding, and to keep as much of him inside him, and it's easier just to drag him on his back and jostle as lightly as possible. However, in the doing, and with all due medical experience, Miriam is aware as to just how long and just how messy the bowels are, and the fact that the stomach has been opened and the gases have been released, how much they begin to puff up, to fall and slide out of their own accord, seemingly. So she's trundling behind, bent over from the waist, picking up bits and pieces of the intestines, large and small, as they're blowing themselves up and filling the floor behind them. So she's scooping them up, carrying them right behind Hestia. Hestia gets the door open and gets the body in, and then she starts pulling bits and pieces of the intestines and bowels in, and Miriam wraps up the last bit, scooping them up as best as she can to get them inside the door. All the while, Sebastian, Miss Green, I know you're busy, but it... And then he goes silent. And you can hear the gulp and the almost silence as there's a growing closer and heavier.
She calls out, Give the paperwork to Silvio. He'll bring it in. Go back to what you were doing.
Sure thing, Miss Green. She says this is for you. Can she tell you to go on? Yeah. Okay. And he opens the door. A small duck that you've never noticed him doing. As he enters, you realize for the first time exactly how large he actually is. It's easy to, not really account for height when the person you're seeing is usually sitting, or usually from a distance. There's usually 10, maybe 15, sometimes more feet between you when you're looking at him, so it's not quite as far to look up. But as there's very little space in the office at this particular moment that is not covered in the remnants of Miriam's guest, you're able to watch him as he enters and closes the door behind himself and realize just how massive of a protector and a body band that Sophia is in possession of. I suppose this is not exactly all that important to you, he says, holding up the clipboard.
Words are stuck for a minute as she's like staring at him, and then kind of catches herself. No, they can go on the desk, but obviously you can see what we're in the middle of, so...
Yeah, you got any peroxide and pine cleaner?
I can get some.
You can. It may not be a good idea for you all to be seen like that. You weren't paying the office as far as anybody knows, right?
No, I wasn't planning on it, but I might have to now. Look, he pushed us. We had to do it, but now I'm having to clean up, so... And I know we don't have long, which is why I asked for your help instead of Sophia's, because obviously you're better at helping with this sort of stuff than she would be.
Where's your cleaning supplies? I'll go get them.
There is a small closet 3 or 4 steps down the hall and to the left. It should be in there. It should be unlocked. At least this time of the day, because we never know when we're going to need supplies.
And your peroxide?
There should be a first aid kit on the top shelf in there. I would probably have a bottle of peroxide in that.
Sure thing. Be right back. It takes a second, looks over the space, and then turns and leaves.
Forgetting that Miriam is there almost for a minute, she just kind of like shivers and goes, Jesus. It goes back to dragging the body.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a night, huh? So apparently this is what happens when I go try to find some food.
I'd like to say this was a rare occurrence, but I'd be lying to myself. Yeah, it's not.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was a little worried when he said he had information. And, well, he recognized me. Figured. It might be safer to bring him to people with more experience, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess in a way, but then I am probably... well, my downward spiral is obviously taking people with me, so there's that. I used to be such a nice, sweet Catholic girl. My mom was turning in her grave right now, I bet. I don't know what to do about it, but I guess, you know, gotta make it work. Make it do what it do.
If it makes you feel any better, I used to be a doctor.
No, really?
A single knock. Not the incessant side of the hand knock that police do, or the polite little taps that Sebastian was doing. No, one singular is at the door. That's it, nothing more. And then silence.
Come in.
And he opens the door and does that little bow as he steps past the threshold, closing the door behind him. And instead of just bringing the first aid kit, he actually has clearly gone all the way over to the triage center and retrieved almost the entirety of the stock of the hydrogen peroxide. And he just calmly walks over to the couch and begins dousing it, the floor, and everything else in the hydrogen peroxide. It's going to be messy, but it'll probably be easier to do it with the other mess mixed in, just in case someone comes in behind you. And as it bubbles and begins to take effect on all of that lovely spilled blood and every other bit from the inside of Miriam's guest, he begins dousing it in the pine salt. And one-handed, he gets the couch up off the ground and moves the two hands and walks towards the door, towards the haven. You want to get that for me?
Sure.
And as Miriam opens the door, you realize that the chemical concoction that he's made is surprisingly interesting to the nose. You can smell the blood dissolving or being attacked by the combination of the two. And while it's not strong enough that the pine scent immediately takes over, it doesn't smell like a hospital. It doesn't smell like the peroxide-based cleaners they use there. It's an interesting mix with a spice and a slight hint of copper, but you would not immediately walk in and believe you entered into a butcher shop. There's no scent of blood, and it grows less by the second, as you can hear the bubbles popping and fizzing from the peroxide. It's not the sort of experience or skills you gain without reason. Miss Green, you want this on top of the body or just next to it?
Well, as long as we don't trip over it later, because I'm still going to have to move it, but I don't have time to move it all the way down to the morgue. So, where you think is best? I guess next to it, or put him on the body, so that when we move the couch again, we can use it like a,
Stretcher?
Yeah, that.
Sure thing. He flips the couch upside down, laying it on top of the corpse so that it's pressed as firmly as it could be against the pillows. Then he flips it back onto its leg. The body's now resting atop the couch, face down. I hate when they leak like that. It's always a problem. Fucking entrails. The reason why I stay away from stomach wounds. That will be curious. It'll be a stain for the most part, but no one's gonna immediately think that is blood. I didn't bother bringing a mop because we don't have time for that, but it should pass muster because I know your office is being used by more than just you.
Appreciate it. I'll just have to replace the couch. Not a problem that I can deal with tonight. Obviously, I still have to. She motions to herself in the clothing. go wash up or change something. Miriam, do you need extra clothing?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't go out in this.
Alright, she kind of eyes Miriam up a little bit. I think it has something that'll look like a crop top on you, but it's a dress on me. We'll be okay.
Sounds good.
I'll let Miss Rossi know you all will be done as soon as possible.
Yeah, sorry, I know, but then you can explain to her kind of a little bit why we needed your help, if that helps. All right, and then she takes off towards to go get clothes.
And he eases back out of the door and makes his way back out front while you are waiting to wash and change. As he makes his way back down, having doused himself in his hands in the slop sink and gotten a few strange looks, he makes his way back outside, and you realize one of the many reasons why he's always wearing black. Not quite as monochromatically as many, but he's often wearing a load of black. Well, it was an actual couch they needed moving.
That is very curious. I am going to say that I probably don't want to know.
Oh, you do. There's another soul in there. They gutted the guy with the glasses like a fish. You can tell that they haven't done it too often. It was all over the place. They didn't even bother to bind the body, so when you cut it, the gases escape.
Were I able to focus on that aspect, I believe our companions would fill my coffers very quickly.
Well, you know, experience has its benefits, I suppose. Or just a quick move.
So, Lucio, how do you feel we should best approach your wayward friend?
We should go to the house to Mama Walde tonight to meet them. When I see them, I'll know what to do.
Will what you do be subtle, or will it require much cleaning?
I don't know yet.
She'll look to Silvio and back to Lucio. Subtle is always good, but I understand subtle is not always possible.
And speaking of subtle, not possible. She and Miriam are making their way back out to the car. Moments have passed. More of the night has petered away. You guys are now down to roughly 15 minutes to get there.
Oh, there's no time like the present.
Any information or conversation that you all will have on the quick, short drive over?
So, why'd you kill him?
No reason. Lots of reasons. Short answer or long answer?
Do we have time for the long answer? If so, the long one.
So I went out to grab a bite to eat, and he recognized me from the studio. Thought I was part of a lifestyle that I wasn't really involved in. And here we are.
That's the long version.
Well, there's some more details that we probably don't quite have time for. Like the chip that was in his stomach.
The what now?
Chip.
Like potato chip or computer chip?
No, Hestia
Like a phone
shows
chip.
the cleaned off micro SD in a little baggie.
Just some information about, I'm not entirely sure, but probably definitely at least some of the, Bahari. Probably. Maybe.
Uh-huh. Lucio looks at Sophia and Silvio, trying to get a gauge of what exactly to think of this.
It is very funny. For every mess that you fix, you find 3 more. It's like the little boy who stick his finger in wall and new hole sprout.
Oh, he was quite intent on dying.
Did he know he was quite intent on dying?
Yes.
Because some people are quite intent on dying and don't realize it.
Oh, he was thoroughly entrenched.
Well, at least everyone got their bite to eat then.
No.
I don't want to know.
You mean to tell me you're the one who brought him here, took him upstairs, and you didn't feed?
No.
Then how'd he die?
Broken neck.
How?
Hestia all of a sudden looks really, really sheepish. We asked him a question and I didn't like the answer.
I have no words. And Lucio just double face palms, rubbing the temples with his fingers, trying to just process what they're saying.
But on a good note, I am no longer hungry. Well, little tiny hungry, but not a lot.
I, on the other hand, am still starving.
And speaking of starving, if you were human, the moment that you guys get to the House of Mama Day, the most engaging scent of maple syrup and fresh made pancakes and hot steaming omelets served up, freshly made. The smell of baking roasting is a annoyingly bright reminder that you all are no longer human. You are no longer alive. Instead of it normally, for the average person, making them hungry, at least curious enough to stare into the windows of the place and want to enter in and want to congregate, it reminds you in the fact that it does nothing for you, that you are not, in fact, alive. Easing into the parking lot is ridiculously easy. There's enough parking for roughly the entirety of the campus of Loyola. A small exaggeration, but only so much so. The place is huge. The front portion, the most accessible portion, the portion where you see faces moving just inside the windows, is easily half as large as the shelter. The block, nearly solid block building that it inhabits, takes up a huge amount of space, and all the storefronts are either for the restaurant and bar, or there's a hair salon right there as well. Oh, look, and there's a barbershop right next to it, and you got a cell phone place, but they're all small. They clearly don't go all the way back to the rear edges of the building, which means in the center there is a huge space, and it begins to make sense, especially as the primary way to get into that huge space, according to word on the street, those who understand, the street culture and the scuttlebutt and gossip therein. If you are there at the bar at the right evening, at the right time, you're allowed to go into the VIP section, which opens up into the center of the building. It is a club unto itself, or at least it used to be. But there at the bar, in the bar space, you can see through the window, is Emily's brother, sitting at a table with a lovely young Latina. The smile on her face is one of seeing an old friend that you have not seen in years. And while you know that she's a decent actor, she's a decent operator, there is no mistaking it for genuine. It is two people who enjoy each other's company. It is two people who are sharing something ineffable that you all have lost along the way. And as they talk, as you all find a nice parking space close enough to see and far enough away to give yourself time to come up with a plan, the conversation unheard in the distance of the car is unmistakably pleasant. The way that they look at each other, they're looking around them, keeping aware of the person's going past and the car streaming by them, but they are there for each other. Even with everything going on, all the vengeance that she is seeking, she has made time for one of the last living relatives, for the one person that she actually cared for, in a way that makes any insinuation of anything except for a very strong, almost blood level relationship seem sordid. The sheer unbridled happiness on her face is not the angry, petulant child who is seeking revenge and filled with fire and brimstone that would leave you all for days at a time during the initial week. The pleasures on her face, it's all too human. It's all too living. It's all too vibrant. And watching them converse, even having not known Dizzy's brother all that well, being inside his head and knowing what he meant, Dizzy meant to him, the pleasure on his face is equally unbelievable. It's one of those things that you don't really quite grasp until you run smack dab into it. A love that is so all-encompassing that whether you were apart for 15 minutes, 15 years, or 125 years, the moment you see each other again, none of that time mattered. None of that time alone mattered, because you know that there's a person out there in the world that you care for and cares for you. And yet, they are both sharing. They're both sharing in the pleasure of each other's company, because each is a person that mattered to someone who mattered to them. And as the car parks, Silvio gets out to open the door. There's a matter of what to do now. They are easily viewable from where you all stand. Or beginning to stand as you're exiting the vehicle. But that means the moment that you move, or the moment you come to any semblance of the many lights throughout the parking lot, that you will also be seen by Vivi. You will potentially be seen by the brother. And last time you all saw him, he was tied up listening as Redwood spilled all the secrets about Kindred. And with that sitting before our coterie, with that understanding of what lay ahead of them, with the decisions yet to be made, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Yes.